My next question to ask you is like, how has this impacted your identity? And you kind of talk about not recognizing yourself, and I think that must be a very tough thing to kind of have to face up to.
Yeah.
So in terms of your pain then, can you discuss a bit more about how it's impacted your identity, or and if it gets too much you can stop.
I just think that when you're in so much pain, you don't engage with your friends in the same way, so there's no need to have any structure to your life. Your days are generally on a day-to-day basis, simply because you never know quite what you're going to be like when you get up the next day.
Yeah.
Don't know how bad your pain's going to be. Sometimes you are unable to do the basic things. You don't feel strong enough to get dressed. You don't want to mess around cooking. You certainly don't want to speak to people because you think people have got their lives to get on with, I've got friends who are busy, who are at work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to listen to me, because when you phone up and they say, how are you, all you can say is, well, same old really, and so consequently you do become you become isolated, and a lot of the time when you're asked out, you just haven't got the energy or the inclination to go, and so you become, not only are you isolated and self-isolating, you become withdrawn, I think.
Yeah.
And then that feeds down, doesn't it, into a sort of another sort of cycle of negativity, really, and feeling as though you're just, well, what's the point, really? You're just a bit of a waste of space all round.
I hope you don't feel like that today.
No, I think at the moment I'm probably better than I've been for quite a long time, to be honest.
That's good to hear.
A lot of that is down to my medication being managed.
Yeah.
And I would say a lot of it is down to just having had 7 weeks where every week somebody said to you, cut yourself some slack.
Yes.
Somebody that's in the profession, somebody that knows how all of this impacts on the different parts of your life. And I suppose another part of this whole thing is about feelings of guilt.
Okay.
Around how you are impacting on other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-pronged thing, really, because you're I suppose you're withdrawing yourself, but you then are worried and guilty about how that activity impacts on your partner, who then will stay in rather than accepting invitations where it's for the two of you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a lot of feeling of self-contempt, I think.
Okay.
And I think that just being able to be in a situation where you're taken out of that little spot that you're in, and the pain management course has sort of said, actually, that's okay to feel like that, because that's all part of what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not on your own. There are things that you can do to make things better. And I've kind of been trying to be more positive, I suppose. And there are days where, I did have a blip over this last weekend, and I haven't slept. Last night was the first time I've slept for a few hours and been in bed for probably best part of a week. I've been sleeping on the sitting room floor because I just haven't been out sleeping, lying, I should say. Dozing off. Dozing off, and then wait, 10 minutes, and I'm putting the television on because it's so tedious lying there on your own on the floor in the middle of the night, and you end up putting the telly on, then it's so boring, you do doze off. But and it's that feeling of being able to think, well, actually, at one time that would have been utterly the end of the world, and you just think, what's the point of carrying on? Whereas now it's, well, okay, that's a flare up, that will pass, and things will be better at a particular time, and you may have another flare up, but it's all part of the process. It's not, you're not in a cycle of it just going on and on and on. It's peaks and troughs, and I think that course has helped a lot with that sort of feeling of not being And it has, I have to say, it has helped me kind of with my self-confidence, I suppose, again. Because it was pretty much at an all-time low, I have to say.
Gosh.
Very depressing. Yeah. So.
In kind of saying that as well, then you kind of talk about relationships and relationships, friends and stuff. How do you kind of feel that this has affected how people view you then? Did you talk about it in quite negatively toned, which it makes sense because of the pain journey you've been on and stuff. But can you kind of discuss that a bit more? Or?
It is difficult. I mean, my relationship with my partner he is fantastic. He's one of the kindest, most understanding people I've ever met. Patient person I've ever met. But we don't have the life that we used to have because our interests and the kinds of activities that we like are very similar. Many of those are things that I can no longer do.
Right.
Lot of sport, a lot of physical activity. It's affected. So he'll go off and do stuff on his own like that now. So I don't get to do any of those things anymore, which I find very frustrating.
Yeah.
I like to think of myself as somebody who doesn't, who tries not to moan and tries not to show my pain and so on too much. But I know from his point of view, it's pretty bloody obvious most of the time. But it has affected it's affected every aspect of our life. We no longer sleep together because he has just retired. He wouldn't have been able to go to work the next day if he'd have spent a night in the same bed as me, because I'm up and down. If I'm in bed, I'm up and down all night. I can't lie still because of the pain, or if I'm not in pain from the arthritis, it's my legs. I kick and twist and turn and wake a lot. So it's completely and utterly ruined our lives, really, in that respect. In terms of we no longer have a physical relationship because of that, which I know he finds difficult, and I find it very difficult.
Yeah.
And there has been a time when we were, and I think some of that was to do with his finishing work as well, and that's been quite traumatic, really, because. I think he sort of had this idea in his head of what it was going to be like, and because we're still, suppose, relatively young, he's been retired a couple of years now, so he was able to take early retirement, and of course a lot of that hasn't come to fruition because I'm not well enough to do the things that we thought we were going to do.
Yeah.
So his life has taken a slightly different turn, and so it's just. That bit has yet to be sorted out, really.
Yeah.
Which is distressing.
Uh-huh. But it seems, in spite of all these things that you viewed to have kind of gone wrong and not come to fruition, it does sound like you've got a very nice kind of solid partnership. Regardless, which I would imagine would be a really nice kind of source of comfort and stability, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know so much, really, because I feel quite a lot of the time that he has been denied part of his life because of my illness and my inability to participate in many things. And there are days when I'm low where I think, what the hell are you hanging around for? Why would you stay with me when you could be happy, I suppose. And I do have those feelings quite a lot, and I feel very guilty.
Yeah, you said that.
Because of my life has changed so much, and the impact that it's had upon him. I'm okay, thank you. Yes, I'm fine. Yeah, I mean, my situation, I suppose, is quite strange because in the last 6 or 7 years, I have lost